The MCU has a problem. Actually, it has many problems. From creative burnout to oversaturation, from formulaic storytelling to a lack of real stakes, the signs of decay are everywhere. But what's the solution? It's time for Marvel to do the unthinkable. It's time to end the MCU. Yes, it's time to end the MCU. In this video, we'll explore why this drastic step isn't just necessary, but could actually be the best thing for superhero cinema as a whole. It's hard to believe, but there was a time when the idea of a shared cinematic universe seemed impossible. Marvel's journey from comic book publisher to global entertainment powerhouse is nothing short of remarkable. But before I make the case for why the MCU needs to end, let's rewind to the late 90s. Marvel was struggling, having just filed for bankruptcy. They were selling off movie rights to their characters left and right just to stay afloat. Spider-Man went to Sony, X-Men to Fox. It seemed like Marvel's glory days were behind them. With the release of Blade and the X-Men, Marvel began to show some signs of life again, and they were able to produce the slew of Marvel movies we all know in the 2000s. But these movies didn't really move the needle in the superhero sphere, even though movies like Spider-Man were very successful. But then something changed. In 2005, Marvel made a bold move. They decided to finance their films, starting with characters they still had the rights to. Iron Man, a B-list hero at best, was chosen to kick things off. It was a huge risk. Hollywood executives were skeptical. A movie about a lesser-known superhero starring an actor with a troubled past, it seemed like a recipe for disaster. But Iron Man hit theaters in 2008 and it was a game changer. Robert Downey Jr.'s charismatic performance combined with a fresh take on the superhero origin story resonated with audiences in a big way. But it was the post-credit scene that really set the stage for what was to come. Marvel's approach was revolutionary. They treated their films like TV episodes, each one building towards a bigger story. They weren't afraid to take risks, whether it was casting choices or genre blending. Thor mixed Norse mythology with sci-fi. Captain America: The First Avenger was a period piece, and then came The Avengers, the payoff that fans had been waiting for. The success of The Avengers changed everything. Suddenly, every studio wanted their own cinematic universe. But Marvel had a head start and they kept innovating. They expanded into TV with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they took chances on lesser-known properties like Guardians of the Galaxy, and with each success, they gained more confidence to push the boundaries of what a superhero story could be. In just a decade, Marvel went from an underdog to a cultural phenomenon. They didn't just make superhero movies mainstream, they redefined how these stories could be told on the big screen. But with great power comes, well, you know the rest. And that's where the story of the MCU takes its on. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, allow me to present my reasons why I think the MCU needs to end now. First point, no direction. After the epic conclusion of Endgame, Marvel faced a challenge they've never encountered before: how to keep the momentum going. In a perfect world, the MCU would have ended with Endgame, and the next few movies after that would be to wrap things up and tie off loose ends. But instead of innovating, they seemed to fall back on what had worked before. It seemed like everything they tried to be creative with fell flat with the audience. The introduction of Disney Plus shows only added to this problem. Instead of expanding the universe in meaningful ways, many of these series felt like glorified trailers for future movies. Characters we once loved were reduced to plot devices, their development sacrificed for the sake of setting up the next big thing. Secondly, quantity over quality. The MCU has adopted the sentiment of quantity over quality. In their rush to keep the content flowing, Marvel seems to have forgotten what made them great in the first place: compelling characters, innovative storytelling, and a sense of wonder. They've sacrificed quality for quantity, betting that the fans will show up no matter what. The MCU's tone has become increasingly predictable. There was a time when the jokes in Marvel movies felt organic. Now it feels like every serious moment must be undercut with a quip. The difference in tone has left many fans feeling disconnected from the stories they once loved. And let's talk about those visuals. Marvel started with incredible CGI. Now they are facing critique from the very people who bring their worlds to life. VFX artists have called Marvel the worst clients to work for, highlighting the unrealistic deadlines and expectations. Most of the recent MCU movies range from average CGI to just awful CGI. They rush these VFX artists without giving them time to properly work on these movies, and the result is clunky movies that look more like video games rather than big budget movies. These movies are getting more expensive by the minute, and you can't even see the value in the movies, and that is a travesty. Finally, the MCU needs to end because of the constraints of a universe. There is only so much you can do with an interconnected universe. The MCU succeeded where a lot of studios would have failed and have failed. They set the standard for how an interconnected universe should be run. Nowadays, they are just running on fumes. End the MCU now and focus on characters and their own individual worlds. It could give room for more creativity. We don't need to connect everything. This is one of the things I don't like about the new DCU.
Our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation.
The idea that everything needs to be connected across film, TV, video games, and all other media is just too limiting for me. Going back to the early 2000s formula for Marvel is the best way to go. Having an overarching storyline is going out of style in my opinion. Imagine creating movies based on comic book storylines and characters confined to that specific world. We see DC doing that with the Batman. The freedom of not having that monkey on your back to connect everything in the universe will produce better movies. Daredevil was one of the best MCU shows, and that's because there was little reference to the Infinity Saga. It was treated as a separate thing. It's like the MCU has become a victim of its own success, trapped by the very interconnectedness that once made it special. So I think the solution is to end the MCU. Ending the MCU doesn't mean the death of superhero movies. It could actually breathe new life into the genre. Imagine standalone films that are not weighed down by years of continuity, or smaller, more focused universes that allow for real creative risks. The possibilities are endless. So what do you think? Is it time for Marvel to say goodbye, or does the MCU still have some fight left in it? Let me know in the comment section, and remember, even the biggest pop culture phenomena have had their day in the sun before something new takes their place. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.